Ready, folks. The crevasse is the choice for this particular matchup from IdrA. And merz is back in the fight. And here we go, folks. Crevasse will be interesting. I have to wonder why IdrA picked that if he wants to perhaps go for some very, very early expansions and try and get his economy going. It's also a good map to harass the Mutalisks. I mean, for instance, this expansion that you see right here, which is the one that the Terran usually tries to pick up. You can attack from all angles with Mutalisks very easily. It's a little bit tricky to defend. So, ladies and gentlemen, I bring you the one and only IdrA. He is in the red trunks, and he is playing Zerg right here on the crevasse versus his opponent, Dignitas merz. He is in the blue trunks, and he is playing Terran. It's currently 1 apiece in this best-of-3 series. merz has got some builds on him, I will give him that. And his most common build is that one barracks into stim into expansion, and he goes really heavy on the Marines. But that time around, he really varied things up, and he caught IdrA completely off guard. It was an interesting play, certainly. The Hellions followed up by the Banshees after that. A bit of a 1-2 punch, trying to force IdrA into overcommitting to something that he didn't really need. And then, of course, combining the Banshees with the siege tanks and those Marines to do some incredible damage, picking off the Queens very nicely, and, of course, doing plenty damage to the forces on the ground. The Marines were able to clean up the Mutalisks quite nicely, and the siege tanks did massive shelling to the Zerglings. merz starting his wall off right here, and we'll see what IdrA decides to do. I would not be surprised to see an expansion from IdrA at this point. Certainly if he wasn't going to do it, then he's a little bit late. IdrA, there we go, going into the pack. It makes perfect sense, really, and he can very easily take this third as well if he wants. We'll find out whether or not he decides to do that very, very shortly. Thing to remember about IdrA, folks, he's an absolutely fantastic player, there's no question about that, although he does every now and again have a tendency to tilt. And by tilt, of course, it means that psychologically he gets on the back foot, which is unfortunate. He should be confident, he's an incredible player. However, after that beating that he just received at the hands of merz, we'll have to see whether or not he can come back from that stronger, or whether he will be playing at a slight disadvantage. merz, on the other hand, no doubt cool, calm, and collected after looking a little bit jittery in the first game. That win will have no doubt given him the confidence to continue. The only hope being for those who are fans of merz, and of course his teammates, that it doesn't make him overconfident. The last thing you want to do against IdrA is become overconfident. He will punish you. It will not be pleasant. Notice that IdrA actually hasn't taken a gas yet. At all. That's interesting. Very interesting indeed. We'll see as to what he decides to actually do with that. That means, of course, no Zergling speed, or indeed anything else. He's taking the gas at the back right there, so it'll be a single gas. Could be Zergling, could be Roachblade. Both of these are a possibility. Factory coming up. It looks like merz is going to try and repeat that successful strategy. You see the reactors going down right there, so he's blatantly going to swap these two over and open up with the Hellions maybe into the Banshees. The thing is, using the same strategy twice against IdrA doesn't seem wise. IdrA is no doubt looking to prepare for that. It worked so well. The headset didn't. IdrA moving his way across the field right now to see what exactly he can find. And merz with the scout as well. Not intercepted there by IdrA. He's able to slide past nice and easy. He doesn't have a speedling upgrade. He's not looking to get speedling upgrade. Not for the time being, at any rate. Could do it in the next few seconds, certainly. And there we go. A couple of Hellions coming in. Look to do the 4. The question is, will merz continue with the Hellion strategy, or will he do the same thing that he did last time? He does have this expansion coming up at the back. And this is a bit quicker than he did last time. He did get an expansion up eventually at around the 7-minute mark, but merz was more interested in going for the Banshees, so it looks like he's not going to do anything of the sort, which is good. It's good to vary things up just a little bit. So I have to wonder if what he's doing right now is deliberately to try and force IdrA to build against it, when in reality that's not actually what's happening. merz wasting a little bit of time right there with those Zerglings, if I'm totally honest, and preparation will come from IdrA, there's no question. The lair upgrade is coming in. The Spine Crawler is on its way up to try and deal with this. No sign of Evolution Chamber, no sign of Spore Crawlers coming up to deal with these Phantom Banshees that won't arrive. And a good block right there. IdrA able to prevent those Hellions from getting in at all. Now, of course, you can attack these rocks with the Hellions, but it will take somewhere between 5 to 7 years to actually blow them up. Inexplicably, Hellions, the flame units, are really bad against buildings. Well, there you go. Game balance sadly trumps common sense. Got yet more barracks coming in right here. It's looking fairly good for merz for the time being. If we have a look at the economic situation, however, you'll see that he is merz a little bit behind, and now trying to remedy that. Charging into the minimal line of IdrA. The question is, can he do big damage? He needs to do big damage with this attack. It's not bad at all, actually. Really good damage coming in right here from merz, and he's able to pick off 6 workers. Not a bad little investment. However, the Spire is on its way, folks, and this area is extremely vulnerable to Mutalisk harassment. Now, more to the point, what will merz do in order to follow this one up? He does have another Hellion up, but he's not really doing anything untoward with it. He only has a single one. He'll look for the scanning right there. He can actually do a little bit of damage to this incoming force, but he might get maybe 1 kill if he's lucky. You can take a shot off right here, or you can, of course, go back to that line and save it completely. Nice play there by merz. And you might think, well, it's just a Hellion, but every little bit counts, especially against a player of this caliber. No upgrades as of yet for merz on that. Stim is on its way very, very late on the Stim this time around, and Mutalisk could potentially come in and do some damage once that Spire actually gets up. IdrA decides he wants to take away his own rocks. He didn't like them anyway. Yet more Zerglings coming on the field for IdrA as well. The Spire almost complete, and merz just sitting behind a defensive wall right now. What merz needs to consider is, what is he going to do next? What was the way out of that? Yes, he went and did some Hellion damage, absolutely. The thing is, IdrA's already rebuilt it. The income comparison shows it right here. merz being propped up by 2 mules, but he is economically behind his opponent. Not by a huge amount, but he is behind. Another hatchery coming down right here for IdrA, needless to say. And to be honest, he thinks he's secure right now, and perhaps he is. merz now transitioning all the way back into what he's used to. Very heavy Bioforce. Banelings are already on the way, however, and Mutalisks are already on the way as well. So this is a little dangerous, to say the least. Very dangerous, in fact. If he reverts back to what he was doing in the first game, then IdrA will crush him. However, if he's able to get some good damage off initially, then he'll be in a great place. Combat Shield coming up, +1 weapon started, and Stim on the way as well. The question is, how long is merz going to wait? Overseer coming in right now, and merz looks to intercept it. Shows his Marine count to his opponent, and already moving out right here. You see that IdrA is sitting on 8 Mutalisks right now. Do we have missile turrets? We do, and we certainly have enough to repulse an attack off that size. He's going to need an awful lot more to make that happen. In the meantime, merz is moving out. There are no Banelings on the field yet, but IdrA's going to see this coming a mile away, and no doubt he will react in that regard. Banelings already coming up for him as I say that. And merz looking for the interception right here. Will that be a wasted Stim? Yes, it was. Almost took out that 1 Mutalisk right there, but still, it's a little bit risky, and merz actually pulling back already. So, not really sure what his plan was there. merz will be able to heal up those Marines and actually go in, but he doesn't feel like it, and unfortunately, that's the kind of thing that he did in the first game against IdrA, and IdrA was able to take full advantage of that. Baneling speed on the way, +1 flyer attack upgrade on the way, almost complete right here, as you can see. And merz just sitting back with a large group of Marines. He's got a tank, only 1, and a couple of medivacs to back it up as well. But his economy is looking quite nice right now. He's managed to get his SCV count up to a good amount, and he will look to expand, but it's going to be a little risky with IdrA moving around with a large force of Mutalisks. Now, it looks like merz is going to attack to try and prevent those Mutas from going in, try and force them backwards, but merz is actually doing nothing with it. The thing is, if it is keeping IdrA from attacking with the Mutalisks, then it's not a bad strategy at all. merz's Marine count is noticeably higher, as you can see in his base right now. He's looking for those upgrades. He's trying to hold off his opponent until infantry level 1 weapon is complete. And if that happens, then he'll be able to tear those Mutalisks apart quite quickly. Mutas already have +1 as well. Something to consider. merz moving around. Is he going to try to attempt to drop? I certainly hope not, because he needs to go and deal with this almost immediately. And that's actually a wasted Stim right there, as you can very clearly see. As IdrA picking off a supply depot, looking for another one, and merz just chasing shadows. IdrA not able to do a huge amount of damage, but it was enough to make merz run around, wasting medevac energy, and of course keeping him in his base. Yet more little bits of harassment coming in right there, trying to drive his way into that supply depot. Can't kill it off, but that's not what he was aiming to do. He just wants to keep his opponent back. IdrA has another expansion coming up in the corner. He can gain that economic lead, and he has the time to get his tech up to the level he wants to. And merz finally forced to actually build a Thor after all of these games, which was to be expected eventually. Needs to be able to deal with that Mutalisk harassment in a way that doesn't involve his Marines running backwards and forwards like idiots, especially on a map like this. It's far too easy for Mutalisk to just sweep in on the natural expansion, and Marines have to run across the entire map in order to get there. It's not great. IdrA scout is getting very, very unpleasant from IdrA right here. As you can very clearly see, we've got 21 mutas on the field, 3 more on the way, looking for +2 attack upgrade. He picks off an SCV for free, and it looks like he's going to be able to bag both. There we go, double kill right there for IdrA as he pushes forward once again on the supply depots, trying to supply block his opponent. He's not successfully doing so. merz has a good supply lead, so that's not too bad, but he's keeping the Marines in the base. merz looks like he's going to try and move out. That was very close. IdrA could have actually sniped off at least one of those medevacs right there, and merz now redeploying to secure his 3rd base. The Overlord and the Overseer, in fact, know that it's there. Zerglings have already made their way through there. The question is, what does his army composition look like? It's a lot of Zerglings, a huge number, in fact. The upgrade count for IdrA is not looking amazing by any means. He does have +1 weapon, and merz is working on his +2, and he's got his +1 armor coming up to counter that +1 weapon anyway. But still, merz is forced to play very passively, which is not what merz likes to do. merz likes to get in there and do some damage, and he was able to do that early game, but IdrA still ahead as far as I'm concerned. 79 drones to 66 SCVs, and he's even ahead in the mineral counter right now, even after the mules come down. Just to prove a point right there. A couple of free missile turrets right there, and merz, unfortunately, not at the back of his mineral line, losing a couple unnecessarily, and IdrA is all the way out of there easily. Toying with his opponent once again, and necessary, really. He has to stop his opponent from delivering a hammer blow to his base. Along with the tanks and the mass rank firepower of these Marines, he should be able to tear through IdRA's forces, but IdrA doesn't want that to happen. IdrA needs to try and hold him back and get a significant supply advantage. They're currently equal on army supply, but the actual supply count, including the workers, is 20 higher for IdrA. IdrA does have the upper hand, and merz is starting to roll forward, and this is a little bit too quick, honestly. If IdrA goes in now, they'll be able to go in before that +2 weapon upgrade completes, and that's going to be absolutely critical. IdrA decides to back off, however, so it looks like merz will be able to deal with that, and IdrA keeping his forces off to the side. He does have a couple of infestors, and that's going to be very unpleasant.